50 metro mula sa building, tahimik na inihinto ni Lloyd ang four-wheel drive sa likod ng makakapal na punong kawayan. Pinawi niya kagad ang minatilyong isanama para ituro ang lugar. Inutusang tumawag ito ng mga pulis. Nagtatago ang lumang bodega, pandayan sa makakapal na punong kawayang nakapaligid. Sa harap ng babagsak ng bahay na kadikit ng bodega ay ang jeep ni Robert. Hindi niya alam kung ilang minuto ang pagitan nila ni Robert. Sa shortcut at tinuro ng binatilyo sila nagdaan. At sa tansya niya sa bilis ng pagpapatakbo niya sa Silverado at sa sinabing oras si Luis ay nahuli lang siya ng 5 minuto. But anything could happen in a few seconds. No, hindi niya dapat isipin yon. Muli niyang itinoon ang tingin sa bodega habang maingat na lumakad patungo roon. This would be too easy. Iisa lang ang kalaban niya. But Robert had Audrey and Andre. And Lloyd was scared as he had never been before. Kung ano-anong pangitain sa isip niyang gumuguhit sa maaaring mangyari kay Audrey na gusto magpasabog sa dibdib niya. Walang kalati siyang umikot sa likod. Naulinigan niyang tinig ni Robert. Was he talking to her? Was she alright? What about Andre? Ligtas ba ito? Hindi ba sinaktan ni Robert ang bata? Halos panlabuan siya ng isip sa matinding takot para sa dalawa. He prayed as he had never prayed in his whole life. Just let them both be unharmed. He promised himself that he would never let Audrey out of his sight again for the rest of his days. And Andre? Oh God! He was just a little boy, even younger than LJ. He shook his head violently. Cursing himself, hindi siya maaaring magpadaig sa emosyon. He could not get distracted by worrying about them. Maingat at mabilis ang kilos niya na lumapit sa yerong dingding. Puno iyon ng kalawang at ng butas. May isang nakaawang na yero na makakapasok ang isang tao. Yumuko siya at nilusot ang sarili. Kumirot ang pinsala sa likod niya, subalit bahagya na niyang ininda. Nakapasok na siya at maingat na humakbang patungo sa maitim at lumang mga drum na nasa harap niya upang bigla ring mapaatras sa napakasangsang na amoy na sumalubong sa kanya. Gumawa ng ingay ang pag-atras niya dahil sa yero siya napaatras. Subalit sumabay iyon sa malakas na ingay na sanhi ng pagparada ng sasakyan sa harap ng bodega. May inaasahan ba si Robert na kasamang darating? He held his hand tightly. Sinisikap niyang wag maapektuhan sa masangsang na amoy. Sa ulo ng trabaho niya natitiyak niyang nabubulok na katawan ng tao ang sanhi ng amoy na iyon. Tension was drawing him tight. Sumilip siya sa pagitan ng poste at ng drum. Then he saw Andre first. Nakaupo ito sa silya at tahimik na umiiyak. His heart ached for the boy, cursing Robert at the same time. Then he saw her. Nakatali. He saw her moved. She was alive. Subalit saglit lamang ang kagalakan na naman niya nang mabilis itong tinakbo ni Robert. Hinawakan sa buhok at hinidayon patalikod, nilagay sa leg nito ang patalim, habang ang mga matay nakatutok sa pinto. May pakaramdam siyang sasabog ang dibdib niya, sa matinding takot at kaba na baka ibaon itong patalim sa leg ni Audrey. Pagkatapos ay bumalya ang yerong pinto ng bodega. Napaungol si Lloyd na makita kung sino ang dumating. "Pakawalan mo si Audrey, Robert!" sigaw ni Eric. Sa likod ay si Luis na lang makita si Andre ay tinakbo ito at niyakap. Ang marali pinipigil na iyak dahil sa takot ay kumawala. Pumalahaw ng iyak si Andre at yumakap kay Luis. "Patigilin mo ang bata sa pag-iyak, Luis!" hiyaw ni Robert. "Maingay! Ayoko ng maingay!" Natatarantang pinatatahan ni Luis si Andre. "May kasama kaming pulis, Robert," patuloy ni Eric. "Hindi ka makakatakas." Hindi pa nito natatapos ang sinasabi nang lumitaw mula sa pintong isang pulis at tinutok ang baril sa kung saan na lamang. Sa ibang pagkakataon, gustong pagtawanan ni Lloyd ito. It looked like a drill, but he could not afford the luxury of a smile. The fools were endangering Audrey's life at kinakabahan siyang sa halip na makatulong sa kanya ay makasama pa ang mga ito. "Subukan ninyong lumapit at laslas ang leg ng babaeng to," babala ni Robert. "Robert, pakawalan mo si Audrey, parang awa mo na." Luis was begging him. "Ano ba ang kasalanan niya sa iyo?" Isang halakak ang pinakawalan ni Robert. Idiniin ang patalim sa leg ni Audrey. Lloyd saw her whimpered in pain. He gritted his teeth. He raised his gun and focused it on his target, but he couldn't get a good shot. Madadamay si Audrey. Kung hindi man sa baril niya, ay sa patalim ni Robert. Mula sa kanalalagyan niya, nakatagilid sina Robert at Audrey. Subalit gumagalaw si Robert at si Audrey ay nakabitin at nagpipilit na abutin ang mga nakataling paan ng lupa. "Ipapakita ko sa inyo kung paano ko unti-unting papatayin si Audrey tulad sa isang aso Luis. Tila baliw itong humalakak. Lloyd went rigid. Tulad ng mga nakarang assignments niya, he faded into black, into the abyss where he couldn't feel. Walang ibang iisipin, walang emosyon, maliban sa pagsupil sa kalaban. Umayo siya ng pwesto at humigpit ang hawak sa baril. Isang gahiblang pagkakataon lamang ang kailangan niya. Audrey, sweetheart, help me. It was as if his plea communicated with her. Audrey bent her head a scant of 3 inches that Robert did not even notice. Slowly, tulad sa isang slow motion ay muling ibinalik ng patingala upang ihampas ang likod ng ulo sa mukha ni Robert. Walang pwersa at lakas iyon para masaktan si Robert pero nagulat siya. Bahagyang lumayo ang patinim mula sa leg ni Audrey. Split second, Lloyd fired his gun straight into Robert's right temple. Louise screamed, hug Andre to her chest tightly. Nagkamalay si Audrey kinabukasan na ng hapon sa ospital sa Lawag. Mukha ni Lloyd ang namulatan niya. Time you wake up, Sleeping Beauty? Wika nito, smiling faintly. You were sedated for hours. Hi, she croaked. Kinapa ang leeg. May benda roon. How are you feeling? My head hurts a little. Tumaas ang kamay niya sa bahagi ng ulong masakit. Medyo namamaga iyon. Slight concussion. Ani Lloyd. What happened? Bumangga ako sa salamin ng jeep nang biglang magpreno si Robert. Tumiim ang mga bagang ni Lloyd. You went through a battery of tests. No physical damage. Maliban sa sugat mo sa leeg. He took a harsh, deep breath. Nasaan si Andre? He is fine. Don't worry. He was released this morning. He was shocked but like a child that he is, he recovered fast. In time, he will forget all about it. May ilang sandaling hindi siya kumibo. Pagkuhay, I was so scared, Lloyd. Her voice trembled. Inabot ni Lloyd ang kamay niya at mahigpit na ikinulong sa mga palad nito. Me too, sweetheart. Me too, he whispered. What happened to Robert? Siya ang umatake sa akin sa parking lot. Siya rin ang... Shh! Inilagay nito ang daliri sa bibig niya. Forget him, Audrey. He is dead. A muscle flex in his jaw. Her eyes grew wide. Dead? Binaril siya ng mga polis? My gun took care of it. You... Oh, Lloyd. Nanlulumong napaungol siya. But did you have to kill him? You almost got killed and you worry about that bastard? Sagot nito, his voice sounding angry. He was going to kill you. He tried to kill you many times, and he already killed 5 people, including your parents and the truck driver. And yes, I have to kill him. There is no other way. Kung sa kamay na may hawak ng patalim ko siya patatamaan, madadamay ka. Kung sa ibang bahagi ng katawan, he could still hurt you. He was too close, Audrey, and he was so intent on killing you at all cost. He was sick, Lloyd. Mahinang sabi niya. Nakadama ng awa para kay Robert. At one time, he was speaking like a boy. His voice was that of a boy, and he thought I killed Marita. He thought I pushed her mother down the stairs. Forget it, he commanded. Walang dahilan para alalahanin pa nakaraan. Subalit nagpatuloy siya. But he was so wrong. Ipinikit niya mga mata. Sinisikap alalahanin ang bahaging iyon ng kabataan niya. Oh, it was so long ago. I was 11, I think. My grandfather's room was open and I remember overhearing Marita talking to him. Masama ang pakiramdam ni Lolo nang umagang yun at di magtungo sa munisipyo. Humihingi si Marita ng tulong kay Lolo. Ang sabi niya, papatayin siya ng asawa niya kapag nalaman ito nagdadalang tao na naman siya, na hindi maniniwala ang asawa niyang anak nitong dinadala dahil nagsaselos ito sa Lolo. Nagalit si Lolo. Lahat na lang daw ng lalaki pinagsaselosan ni Elmo. Sinabi ni Lolo na hindi niya gusto ang ganong uri ng reputasyon at eskandalo. Lalo't malapit na uli ang eleksyon. Ayon kay Lolo, may mga kumakalat ng usap-usapan dahil na rin sa seloso niyang asawa. Noon din mismo ibinigay ni Lolo ang termination paper ni Marita, kasabay ang malaking halaga bilang retirement pay niya. When Marita came out of his room, I remember running behind the stairs. Lumalakad itong tila wala sa sarili. Nasa puno na ito ng hagdanan nang bigla nitong sapuhin ng ulo. Pagkatapos bumagsak ito at nagtuloy-tuloy sa ibaba. Sa pagkamangha ko, tumakbo ko papunta sa puno ng hagdan, not knowing what to do. Nakita kong pagbagsak ni Marita. Then there was blood. Her voice broke. Shh! It's over, sweetheart. Ani Lloyd kissing her hand. Robert was mentally and physically ill. Kung hindi siya namatay sa baril ko, he would have died anyway. Nagtatanong ang mga mata niyang tumitig dito. He had a tumor in his stomach. Nasa late stage na. He'd probably live for another month or two. The doctor who autopsied his body told me an hour ago. Bumuhit ang matinding habag sa puso niya para kay Robert. Biktima ito ng malupit na kabataan at ng maling paniniwala. Isang mahinang katok sa pinto ang narinig nila. Bumukas iyon at pumasok si Luis. So, she is awake. Wika nito. Inayos ko ng discharge paper niya. Maaari na siyang lumabas bukas. Tumango si Lloyd at tumayo mula sa pagkakaupo sa gilid ng kama. Lalabas na muna ako at kakausapin ko ang doktor niya. Niyuko siya nito. His fingers touch her lips. Kalimutan mo ng lahat. The nightmare is over. Thank you. No voice came. Only her mouth formed the words. Ngumiti lamang ito. Then he walked towards the door and let himself out. Si Luis ay humakbang patungo sa gilid ng kama at tinunghayan siya. Kamusta na ang pakiramdam mo? She smiled a little. If I hurt physically, it will pass. And I'm glad it's all over. Yeah, me too. Wika nitong sinamahan ng buntong hininga. I'm sorry, Audrey. Tahimik siyang tumango. Alam niya kung para saan ang paghingi nito ng paumanhin. Nang dumating ako ng Santa Clarita, agad na nagtapat si Rika sa akin. Nakiusap na wag ko munang sabihin sa'yo hanggat di siya makakagawa ng paraan para mabayaran ang principal kong pera. She sighed. Hindi ko siya magawang tanggihan, Audrey. Nagtapat siya sa akin. Hindi niya binalak na dayain kang tuluyan. Naipit siya lalo pa nang tawag kung darating ka. Sinikap kong matulungan siya, taghihintay lang kami ng magandang pagkakataong kausapin ka. Hindi namin magawa ni Rika yun habang nag-aalala ka ng tungkol sa nagtatangkang pumatay sa'yo. Believe me, nung nasa Santo Tomas kami, wala kami pinag-usapan kung paano niya ipagtatapat sa'yo ang tungkol sa perang nawawala mula sa farm. Hindi siya sumagot. Di niya masabi sa tiyahing mas madaling tanggapin ang ginawa nitong pagkakaila at pagtatakip kay Rika Lopez kaysa kung nagkatotoong hinala niyang ito at si Rika nagtangka sa buhay niya. Ikinalulungkat din niyang pinaghinalaan niya mga ito. It was Rika's husband who embezzled the money, Audrey. Maliban pa sa salaping na disipal ko nito sa rural bank na pinagtatrabuhan nito. Patuloy ni Luis. Her eyes flew to her aunt. She showed me the farm's record as far as 2 years back. At sinabi niya ring hindi inatake sa puso ang asawa niya. He took an overdose. Pilit niyang pinagtakpan yun para iwasan ang iskandalo. At si Rika ang nagdurusa sa ginawa ng asawa niya. I hope you can forgive her. I do. Wika niya sa pinasiglang tinig. I am alive and Andre is unharmed. I can afford to be magnanimous. I will give her an easy repayment terms. Mag-uusap kami paglabas ko rito. Louise smiled faintly. But she will be paying you soon. Kalahati kagad ang perang nawala. At siya rin ang magbabalikat ng interes sa bangko para sa late payment ng amortization. She is selling the vacation house in Santo Tomas. Hindi niya kailangan yun. Sapat nang matubos na sa pagkakasanla ang bahay niya sa bayan. Yun ang dahilan kung bakit sumama kami ni Eric sa camping. Gusto makita ni Eric ang property. He was interested in buying it. Tumaas ang mga kilay niya roon. Eric's that well off? You'd better believe it, Louise said laughing. He is a miser and had been working and saving all his life. Kahit kotse ayaw bumili, but he will, soon. Malayo ang Santo Tomas para mag-commute, kahit sagon naman ng kotse. Where is he? Oh, outside. Inaabangan ng paglabas ni Roy dito. He is making his peace with him. Muntik na nga niya ipahamak ang kaligtasan mo sa biglang pagsulpot sa bodega. But Eric cares for you, you know. For us, he really does. Tumango siya. A soft smile on her lips. Padre de pamilya, hindi ba? Both women laughed. Kinabukasan ng umaga, inilabas ng ospital si Audrey. Sina Luis at Eric ang nag-uwi sa kanya. Si Manang Vicky nasa bahay ng lolo niya at inaalagaan si Andre. Ayon kay Eric, lumuwas na ng Maynila si Lloyd. Gusto niyang manlumo. Tahimik na sumandal sa sandalan ng kotse sa likod at ipinikit ang mga mata. Nagawa na ni Lloyd ang tungkulin nitong iligtas siya. What does one have to do with the other? That was what Lloyd said. Yeah, it was stupid to think that he redeemed himself through her and Andre. But he could have at least had the decency to say goodbye. Nag-init ang sulok ng mga mata niya. The pain in her heart was too painful to bear. Pero sinikap niyang wag bumagsak ang mga luha. I will get by, Andre. Your dinner's getting cold, Andre. Hindi ka kumakain. Nakasilip siya dito mula sa kusina. Nakadapa si Andre sa sahig at nanonood ng cartoons. Sa tabi nito ay ang pagkain. I'm eating, Mommy. Balik sigaw nito. Dumampot ng chicken bits pero hindi naalis ang mga mata sa pagkakatutok sa TV screen. Isinubo nito ang chicken bits. Umiling siya at tinuloy na sa lababo ang pagkain hindi naman niya nagalaw. 4 na araw na nakalipas mula nang lumabas yan ng ospital. Marami na nangyari. Kinausap at humingi ng tawad sa kanya si Rica Lopez para sa asawa nito. Tulad ng nasabi na niya kay Luis, pinatawad niya ito at pinanatili sa serbisyo. Inihayag niya rito ang paninais niyang manatili sa Santa Clarita at asikasuhin ng farm. And she needed Rica to assist her. Isa pa, plano niya magtayo ng clinic sa bayan. She was a surgeon. She could be a general practitioner. And maybe in the near future, she would specialize in another field. She took up reconstructive surgery because her grandfather joked her about it. Now she thought of specializing in psychiatry. Magiging abala siya. Hindi magkakapawang pag-iisip kay Lloyd. She sighed. Hinugasan ng pinggan. Walang sandaling hindi niya ito naiisip. But they say time heals all wounds. All she had to do was wait for that time. Kung kailan yon hindi niya alam. If ever she would ever forget him. Bahagyang-bahagyang tunog ng makina ng sasakyan ang narinig niya sa labas. Nagbalik ba sina Luis at Eric? Pero kanina pa nakaalis sa mga ito. Eric decided to spend the weekend in Santo Tomas, a romantic place to discuss weddings and future plans ayon dito. She strained her ear to listen more. Pero mga panggawing kuliglig na narinig niya at ang ingay ng mga daong hinahampas ng hangin sa bintana niya. Nang marinig niya ang langit-ngit ng pagbubukas ng pinto. At bago pa siya makalingon, sumigaw na si Andre. Daddy! Hello! Said the familiar raspy voice that was music to Audrey's ears. Kung posible lamang na lumabas ang puso niya sa dibdib niya, yun marahil na nangyari sa kabang nadarama. Be still, my heart! She hissed to herself. May ilang sandaling na natiling nakatayo siya sa lababo upang payapain ang sarili. Napalingon siya nang marinig ang tinig ni Andre sa entrada. Nakasakay ito sa bisikleta. Mommy, look! Pagmamayabang nito. Dala ni Daddy. She smiled indulgently at Andre. Iniatras pa nitong bisikleta at nagpaikot-ikot sa sala. Tumaas sa mukha niya kay Lloyd. Nakasandal ito sa hamba ng entrada. In his usual faded blue jeans and denim-colored shirt. But this time he had shaved. Nababakas pa sa mukha ang mga sul-ngasul na pinagdaanan ng pang-ahit. Hi! Bati nito. Hi yourself. You're looking fine. May pananabik nitong hinagod ang tingin ng kabuuan niya. Wala sina Eric at Luis. She closed her mouth shut. Alam niyang iba ang magiging dating niyan kay Lloyd. She was right. He was grinning devilishly. What are you suggesting, sweetheart? I'm game. I'm not even tired. 2 oras at kalahati lang ako nagmaneho mula Capistrano. Ginamit ko ang sesna ng kumpanya sa pagparot parito sa Maynila. Ang ibig kong sabihin, hindi ko gusto mag-isip na naman ng hindi mabuti sina Luis at Eric. Ayon sa kanila, dumarating ka tuwing wala sila. Umangat ang mga kilay nito. Amusement lit his eyes. Kasalanan ko bang mahusay akong kumuha ng tiyempo? She sighed. Kumain ka na ba? That sounds very wifely, and I like that. Oh, don't tease, wika niya. Why have you come, Lloyd? Ilang segundong pinalipas ito bago sumagot. Anong klaseng tanong yan? I'm here because I wanted to see you. I want to be with you. Hindi ka nagpaalam nung umalis ka patungong Maynila. She accused. Bumalik ako ng gabing yun pero tulog ka na. I did not have the heart to wake you up. His eyes ran over her. You know, when you were in that building, when you were in danger, I made a promise. A promise? That if you were not harmed, that if you came out alive, I promise not to let you out of my sight for as long as I live. I see. Aniya. What did he mean by that? Nang muli siya magsalita, binahira niya ng sarkasmo ang tinig. Gusto mo maging permanenteng bodyguard ko? Bes, it's over, Lloyd. Hindi ko kailangan ng bodyguard. Lloyd smiled at the insolence in her voice. Come here, Audrey. Don't call me that. He frowned. But that is your name. You associate it with Audrey. She said with a sigh. Wag mo kong ipagkakamaling siya, Lloyd. Annie had always been Annie to everyone. She was never called otherwise. It was a fate stroke that you had a name similar to hers. At di kita pinagkakamali sa kanya, Audrey. Not once, not in any way, and not ever. Good, because I am not her. She snapped. Obviously, he agreed. She did not have hair like yours. She was also tall, 5 feet and 8 inches. Voluptuous and with breasts many men would die for. She flinched. Annie was a homebody and very submissive. At sa pagkakatanda ko, nasabi ko na sa'yo na minsan man, di niya ako pinagtaasan ng tinig. Ang bawat salita ko batas para sa kanya. He stared at her, waiting for her to speak, but she refused to even meet his eyes. She was close to tears. Damn him for coming back and hurt her by comparing her to his dead wife. Nagpatuloy si Lloyd na manatili siyang hindi kumikibo. Annie had straight and short silky hair, while you have curly and tameable hair that I love to run my fingers through. You are not tall. You are too slender. And yet when we made love, you seem to fit every angle and plane of my body, as if you have been made for me. Napasinghap siya. Tumaas ang mga mata niya rito. He was gazing at her with what she thought as love in his eyes. May pag-asang umahon sa dibdib niya. Wag nang idagdag pa ang init na nanunulay sa bawat himaymay ng katawan niya. You don't have breast men would die for. Fine. I don't want any man ogling your breast or I will always be in trouble. Yours are firm and small, yet it was as if they were made exactly to fit my hands. You're talking obscene. Am I? Passion flared in his eyes. He walked slowly towards her. Umatras siya. I am not submissive, she challenged in a small voice. No, you aren't. You are stubborn. Nor passive. Patuloy niya. Huminto sa pag-atras na maramdaman sa likod ng sink counter. When you are wrong, I will point it out to you, and you must see the reasons, and vice versa. For me, relationship is a two-way lane. I can agree with you. As to being a homebody, can be compromised. Lloyd finished for her. But you are a good cook. You can take care of Andre well and you love him. You have the makings of a loving and a wonderful wife. Saan patungong usapang ito, Lloyd? Her heart was pounding on her chest painfully. Huminto si Lloyd sa paghakbang, ilang pulgada mula sa kanya. His hands cupped her face and looked straight into her confused eyes. Annie was the embodiment of my idea of a perfect woman, sweetheart, and I loved her, he said emotionally. You are her exact opposite, and yet I fell in love with you, and I don't want you any other way. I love you just the way you are. She was dumbfounded. He loved her. Yun lang ang tumitinig sa puso at sa isip niya. Hindi na importante kung aling pag-ibig ang higit na mas matimbang o kung sino higit itong iniibig o kung sadyang minamahal ito ni Annie ng totoo. Annie was dead. She was alive and he loved her. She could love him with all her heart, body and soul. She would love him the way Annie hadn't. That was all that mattered. I love you so very much, Audrey. That you had died in that warehouse, I don't want to live anymore. She was speechless. Warmth blazed her. She tried to open her mouth and say something, but the words would not come. His eyes caressed her face as he confessed. And you were the first woman I ever made love to since Annie and LJ's death. Oh, she was genuinely surprised. Surely, that is not true. Hindi ko kailangan ipagsinungaling ang bagay na yun. Sa nakalipas na halos 5 taon, I confined myself in a maelstrom of torment, of rage, of ache and pain. He paused. Until I met you. Doon ko naramdamang gusto ko makawala sa pinagkulungan ko sa aking sarili. And suddenly you became my lifeline. His voice broke. Mist formed his eyes. Tumaas ang mga kamay niya sa mukha nito. Her fingers softly wiped the mist away. Lloyd got hold of her hand. Dinaiyon sa dibdib nito, sa tapat mismo ng puso nito. That must have been the reason why I cried when I reached my climax. You gave me back all that was lost, Audrey. She wanted to burst into tears. Kanina pa mga nakaamba sa mga mata niya. But she held herself. Luha man yun ng kaligayahan, di pa rin niya gustong umiyak. She had been doing that lately. And for the last 2.5 years of her life, may ilang beses siyang tumikim bago nagsalita. Hinawakan ang lapel ng polo nito. Ano nga yung pangako mo sa sarili mo na nasa bodega ako? He frowned at her. That I won't let you out of my sight for as long as I live. So, okay, I retract what I said. I need a bodyguard permanently. Umangat ang mga kilay ni Lloyd. And since you are a man of the law, you hate something illegal, don't you? You bet. And I cannot have a bodyguard who wouldn't let me out of his sight unless he was my husband. Am I correct? Unti-unting gumitaw ang ngiti sa sulok ng mga labi ni Lloyd. You are so smart. She cleared her throat again. This is difficult, Mr. Montilla. Hindi ko gustong sabihin sa mga apo ko na ako nag-propose sa lolo nila. So you better make it right. Start proposing now. His bark of laughter echoed around the room. Makalipas ng ilang saglit, may dinukot sa bulsa. Isang pulang kaheta. Tinaas iyon sa harap niya. This is one of the reasons why I went to Manila, sweetheart. I will tell you about my resignation from my job later. And I want to give you this. Binuksan ito ang munting kahon na tumambad ng isang engagement ring. Nasa kotse pang isang bote ng champagne and 3 yellow roses in a box. Dinaanan ko rin sa rancho ang 2 antigong kandelabra. I would have done the proposal the proper way pero apurado ka. Isinuot nito ang singsing sa palasingsingan niya. Well, will you marry me, Audrey? And be the mother of my children, including Andre? Her eyes shone like stars in a spangled night. Oh, Lloyd, yes. Yes, I will marry you. She hugged his neck. Gumanti ng yakap si Lloyd ng mahigpit. At sa isang mahabang sandali, nanatili siya nakakulong sa mga bisig nito. And then he whispered in her ear, I love you, he said emotionally. Thank you for coming into my life and making me live and feel again. She looked at him lovingly, and then said gently, We have Andre, and we will have our own children, but they are not to replace LJ, and you will not forget Annie. His smile was tender, puno ng pagmamahal, that Audrey felt like crying. Narito silang palagi sa puso ko, Audrey, but I love you and I need you and I don't think I could go through life without you. At ano man ang dumating sa buhay natin, kakayanin nating dalawa. Tell me you love me too. Oh yes, she exclaimed happily. I do love you, Lloyd Montilla. Sana'y nagustuhan po ninyo ang mga kwento ni Lloyd at Audrey at ang mga aral na kanilang dala. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.